All right, so now that we know how to solve a system by graphing, we're going to learn a couple of different ways to solve algebraically. So here's our learning target. So what is substitution? That's what we're going to talk about today. Remember, substitution, if you're given an expression like negative 3x plus 5 and asked to evaluate it if x equals 7, you would say, all right, if x is 7, I see an x here. I'm just going to put that 7 in place of that x because they equal each other. I can substitute it in. So then this would mean I would say negative 3 times 7 and then plus 5. And then I know I need to do, PEMDAS says I need to do multiplication first, so I would say negative 3 times 7 is negative 21 plus 5, and that would give me negative 16. So by substituting in, because they're equivalent, I can figure out what this expression equals, and it would be negative 16. So that is substitution. Hopefully you remember that from your algebra days and pre-algebra days last year. Okay, how can we solve a system using substitution? Remember, when we're solving systems, we are trying to find where they cross. Now, if you're given a graph, and you can find that graph or graph it easily on your graphing calculator, then that point where they cross sometimes is pretty easy to find, and other times it's a little trickier. But we're trying to find where they cross, remember, no matter what happens. So we've done that graphically. We can also do this algebraically and figure out where they cross. So that's what we're going to do the next few days here is how do we use algebra to figure this out? The reason we need algebra is because graphing doesn't always work. So on your graphing calculator, you have a graphing calculator, you've got a screen that has an XY axis. Sometimes where they intersect, let's say I'm going to use these two lines here, the purple line and a red line, sometimes where they intersect is off your graph, okay? So you have to be able to find that. Okay, so that doesn't work. I can't use my graphing calculator. Also, in order to use the graphing calculator, they always have to be in y equals form, and that is not always the case with linear functions. They don't always come in y equals mx plus b form. Sometimes they're in different forms. So we need other methods, and we can use algebra to find them. Also, graphing, sometimes you're gonna, we've been getting pretty nice numbers. That doesn't always happen either. Matter of fact, usually we don't get nice numbers. And this is where algebra can come in handy. So these last two methods that we're going to talk about today, well, one of them today at least, substitution, and we'll also use elimination will be the next thing. These two use our algebra skills to come up with the place where they intersect. And remember, that is really what we're trying to find. We are trying to find still where the two lines cross. Now, this time we won't have a picture, but we're still looking for where is that point, okay? And we can use algebra to find that. And that's what we're going to do today with substitution. Now, here are the steps. These will be also on your assignment, but ultimately you need at least one of the equations to be in x equals or y equals form. And then whatever that is equal to, you're going to substitute that into the other equation. You'll solve for your variable, either x or y. And then you're going to substitute again and solve for the other variable. And then don't forget your answer is where they cross, so it should be written as an ordered pair, x comma y. So you can see why we call this substitution. So you see that quite a bit. All right. So the steps are in the corner there, and they will be in your assignment. So go ahead and use those as your guide. So here, step 1 says make sure at least one of the equations is in x equals or y equals form. Well, notice my first equation here, it says y equals 4x minus 21. So I have that already. Okay, so good. Number 2, step 2, it says to substitute that value into the other equation. Okay, so this is where we're using substitution. This is my system. I know that y is equal to this, 4x minus 21. What we're going to do then, since y equals that, is I'm going to replace the y that I see in the other equation with 4x minus 21. So I'm just going to copy this other equation just the way I see it, 5x minus 4. And now where I see that y, I'm going to put in parentheses what's in that orange stuff. So I'll write it in orange here as well. 4x minus 21, okay, equals 18. So all I did was copy this equation. I replaced y with what it equals. It says here that y is equal to this, so we replaced it with 4x minus 21. That's all I did was substitute in. And that was legal because they are equal to each other, right? They equal each other. Okay, now once you've done that, you are going to simplify this, okay? I'm going to figure out, all right, what does this equal when I simplify that? In other words, really what I'm going to do here is I need to do a little distribution and combining like terms. So I'm just going to start 5x is going to stay the same. Now you're going to do negative 4x times positive 4, negative 4 times positive 4x is negative 16x. And then you're going to do negative 4 times negative 21. Okay, so what is negative 4 times negative 21? Well, that's positive 84. Okay, now before you start doing any solving, you're going to solve for x. Remember, you always need to combine like terms. So I'm going to write that here. Combine like terms. Don't forget to do this before you start solving. So combining like terms, notice these are like terms. So I'm going to put these together. 5x minus 16x is negative 11x. Okay, and then I'm just copying the rest. Okay, so I just put these together to become that. And that's it. Okay, now I have an equation that I can solve for x. And so you're going to use your equations, solving equations methods that we talked about at the beginning of the year. So I want to solve for x, so that means I have to get rid of this 84 first. I'm going to do the opposite, so I'm going to subtract 84 from both sides. Okay, I get negative 11x, these cancel out, equals, and I'm going to say 18 minus 84. We can go to our calculator, open it up here. -18 -84, we get negative 66. Okay. Okay. Now, I know that this right here means multiplication. It's negative 11 times x. So I'm going to do the opposite. Remember, that's divide. So now I'm going to divide by negative 11 and make sure I do that on both sides. These cancel to 1, so 1x or just x equals, and then I would do negative 66 divided by negative 66 divided by negative 11, which is 6, positive 6. So x equals 6. Okay, you've done pretty much most of the hard work. Now, once you get done with that, step 3 is going to take you the longest there. Now, step 4 says to substitute it into one of the original equations. Now, remember, I'm trying to find x comma y. So what I want to do is I now know what x is, and I'm trying to find y. Okay, so if I look at these equations here, it says y equals right here, and I know what x is. So I'm going to substitute it into that equation, and we're going to solve for y now. Okay, so let's see. So y equals 4 times x minus 21. So I'm just using this to find y, right? And now I know that x is 6. So I'm going to say y equals 4 times 6 minus 21. So what is y? This is pretty easy. I don't have any weird things to move around. I can just, 4 times 6 is 24 minus 21, which is 3. Okay, so now you're going to write it as an ordered pair. You've solved for the other variables. You have your x and y. So now I'm just going to say, all right, where do these cross? Write it as an ordered pair. X always goes first. It's 6 and then 3. These two lines right up here cross at the point 6, 3. So we don't know exactly what those lines look like, but we do know that 6, 3 might be somewhere in this. That's where these two lines cross, okay? And again, that's what we were trying to find. We did it this time algebraically. And there we go. That's how we solve using substitution. Okay, I want to do one more just so you get practice with this. You'll notice our first one, we had a y equals, and this one, we have x equals. So it says step 1, make sure that at least one of your equations is in x equals or y equals form. This time, we have x equals. So we're going to plug in then for x. So let's see here. X is equal to this. So x equals that. So that means in place of x, since x equals that, we're going to replace it with 5y plus 18. So again, I'm going to say, all right, 3. I'm going to copy this, but replace x with what it equals. So in place of, x, we're going to write 5y plus 18. And now I need to copy the rest of this equation, that first equation. So minus 6y equals 9. Okay, and now we're going to simplify that. So I'm going to do some distribution. I'm going to do this. Okay, so 3 times 5y is 15y. 3 times 18, so if you're not sure, take out your calculator. You go, all right, what's 3 times 18? We get 54. Okay, so plus 54 minus 6y equals 9. Okay, you are going to combine. Don't forget to combine like terms. So in this case, I've got a 15y and a negative 6y. I want to put those together. 15 minus 6 is 9. So I have 9y plus 54 equals 9. All right, solve for y. So that means I need to get rid of this 54. It's a positive 54, so I'm going to subtract 54. Those will cancel. I get 9y equals negative 45. All right. And now I need to solve for y. I got a 9 there, 9 times y, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide. Make sure I do that on both sides. So y equals, and negative 45 divided by 9 is negative 5. All right, so now I have y. That bigger step 3, takes a little longer. And now I want to substitute in and solve for x. So I'm going to go back up to my original equations up here and look at them. I can see that my second equation says x equals, so I'm going to plug in there. I'm going to use that. So this time, let's see, x equals 5 times, I'm just going to substitute. Now I know that y is negative 5. We just said that down here. And then plus 18. Figure out what I get. So this would be negative 25 plus 18. So x is negative 7. Now, I'm going to write my answer as an ordered pair always. Remember, x always goes first, so negative 7, comma, negative 5. That is where these two lines cross. These two lines right here cross at this point right there. And that is how we do substitution to solve a system. Okay, here's your assignment. Write it into your planner and check it off once you've finished. Hope that makes sense. Review as you need to.